Tonight we spend an hour with a woman who has become a voice for women of all ages, all races. She is novelist Alice Walker. Overcoming her roots as a sharecropper's child in Georgia, she has written 14 books, including the beloved Pulitzer Prize winner, The Color Purple. With her latest novel, Possessing the Secret of Joy, she has earned raves and some criticism for the subjects that she has attacked and some of the subject matter that has become part of what she has written about. I'm very pleased to have Alice Walker here and to renew a friendship with someone who I've much admired for a lot of what she has done. Welcome.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Why? Tell me about this, because as I said to you before we started, the subject matter, it's something I knew nothing about. Mm-hmm. Clitoridectomy.
Yes.
You know, what is it?
Well, clitoridectomy is like penisectomy. I mean, if you, it's a procedure in which the vulva is pretty much destroyed in some cultures. In other cultures, only half destroyed. Mm. The clitoris is removed, the inner labia, and sometimes the outer labia. Sometimes there's infibulation, which is the suturing of the sides that are left, so that it becomes very difficult for the woman to have intercourse or to give birth.
And where does it take place? I mean, what countries do it, and how much of it is done today?
Well, there are a lot of countries in Africa, but it's by no means simply an African thing today, although we think it probably started in Africa. It's in 20 countries in Africa, including Sierra Leone on the west coast, the Sudan, some parts of Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania. It also is practiced in Egypt, in Somalia, in Yemen, in Oman, in Malaysia, Indonesia.
I read somewhere 100 million women?
Yes. The World Health Organization says that the figure is somewhere around 80 million or 85 million, but there are women sexologists and anthropologists who claim that it's around 100 million.
What's the cultural context?
Well, the cultural context is that it's, you mean, why is it done?
Why? And why would any culture do that to young women?
Well, it's to control women's sexuality and women's mobility, women's freedom, women's choice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it's, after this takes place...
Well, after it takes place, the woman is in a great deal of pain, and her response to sex is one that is very hesitant, and you know, I mean, a lot of her desire, of course, is really killed.
Having set that stage, I want to talk about Tashi, who we met in Color Purple.
Yes.
And you pick her up again. I mean, we now know more about her. Mm-hmm. She she escaped having this done.
Yes.
And yet goes through enormous emotional pain.
Mm-hmm. She chooses to have it done
and
to
then
herself.
Chooses to have it done.
As an adult.
What's the conflict for her?
The conflict is that unless she does this one thing that clearly identifies her with her people, because of colonization, which has taken away everything, she will have no way of knowing who she is. In other words, if you are in a country like South Africa, and the settlers have taken all of the best land, which they have, they've taken 87% of the land, and you've seen on television there are people left with nothing, you know, I mean, really nothing. So, you know, if you can just imagine what that feels like, that you no longer have land, you no longer have your village, you no longer have a context to exist, what can you keep? What can you keep that will identify you as somebody? You know, somebody with a past, somebody with a history. Well, what do colonizations not want of all the things they can take from you? They don't want your pain. So that's what you can keep, and that's what she chooses to keep.
It's her way of identifying with her culture, with her roots.
Exactly.
With her people.
But it's completely misguided.
And it puts in conflict on the one hand because it is in fact an act of violence against women.
And against herself.
And against herself,
yes.
In conflict with the longings to be part.
Right.
To find herself.
Right. But in a society where this is taboo, how could she know that this would be the result? There's no way she could.
There are those who say this book is about overcoming taboos.
Well, let's hope. Let's hope.
Let's hope it is.
Let's hope it is, right.
Tell me what it is about in your own mind.
Well, I would like to begin a discussion, a dialogue about this. I mean, it's one of the things in the world that we need as a world, not as just, black people, white people, but as a world we need to discuss. In the same way we need to discuss, the women in Nepal who have to wear the neck rings, or the women in Bali who have to have their teeth filed.
Or women who have their feet bound or whatever.
Or women in China, for a long time they had their feet bound. These are all things for the world to discuss and to consider.
And you have said if this prevents this happening to one woman, then
if this book prevents it happening to one little girl, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have the great big plan, but I feel really strongly that there's one child somewhere. She may not even be born, but she will not be held down and have herself cut by people she trusts without anesthesia and with unsanitary tools because of this.
Tashi's sister, she sees her sister die.
Dura.
Dura, a bloody death.
Yes.
Because
of this. And this happens, in Kenya in 1982, when The Color Purple was published, 14 children died as a result of genital mutilation. And the president, Moi, who is still the president, banned it in Kenya. Unfortunately, it took 14 children to die pretty much at the same time for him to get his attention,
This was when?
This was in 1982.
Yeah.
And it's still practiced because it's very tenacious. It's so old. It's 2,000 years old at least.
Why Possessing the Secret of Joy? Why that title?
Well, there's an epigram in the front of the book that I took from a white woman who had lived in Africa. Her parents had been colonizers. And she talks about how black people are natural because we possess the secret of joy. And that, she says, and because we possess the secret of joy, we can bear the humiliation.
We've endured the humiliation and the pain and the suffering.
We can take it all.
Because we
possess the secret of joy. Well, but what happens to someone like Tashi? What happens to all these women who don't endure? What happens to the 14 children who die before they even know what is happening?
It sounds almost like religion to me. They used to say that religion in some cases is, it's believing that if I endure this pain, everything will be okay because in the next world.
I know. Well, this is the world we have. And as far as I'm concerned, this is the one we will have.
And Tashi said, well, I want to talk more about religion later in the broadcast,
Good.
but Tashi says, what is the joy?
Yes.
What is the joy?
What is the joy? You mean you're asking me to give away what
that's
the
her
joy
question.
is?
Yeah. Well, but I don't want to give away but she does in the end. Do we end optimistically?
Yes, we do.
She goes back and finds.
Oh, absolutely, we end optimistically because that's the only hope we have. We have to find a way out of all of these things, and it involves fighting.
You're going to make a documentary about this.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you feel so strongly about this.
Well, I do, and because I'm a writer who, because of my own background, have to think about people who don't read. I mean, there are millions of people who don't read in this country, but all over the world there are people who don't read. They don't read English, or they don't read,
Does your mother read?
Well, she can, but not a big, thick book like that.
Yeah, she never read Color Purple.
No.
Yeah, but she saw the movie.
She saw the movie.
And liked it?
She liked it, yeah. She was...
Did your brothers see the movie?
Yes.
Yeah. And liked it?
Yes, they did.
And liked it?
Yes. Yeah. It was the book that gave them a problem, I think, but not so much because they read it, but, just because it was so thick.
What are you saying about AIDS here?
Well,
there are lots of themes that are run in and out of this.
Well, the theory is that, AIDS itself in Africa was started by the dissemination of contaminated polio vaccine, which is really quite possible. But if I
can't contest that because I don't know. But,
right.
but serious people believe that that's the way it began?
Yes, yes. I mean, it's not, unserious people think that it was started because, a green monkey bit somebody. But the serious people know that it had to have something to do with serum and vaccine and all of that. What was the question?
Well, what's the connection with AIDS? Why are you exploring AIDS and the origins of AIDS in this theme?
Right. So if you have this possibility, of infecting a lot of people with this virus, then you have a sexual ritual that involves cutting the genitals. Right. In such a way that often any kind of intercourse involves tearing and the transmission of contaminated fluid. then I think you increase the possibility of the spread of any kind of disease, not just AIDS.
And in fact, one of the awful things about this is the fact that the infection, beyond the horror of it on its face, it is that the instruments used are unsterilized,
exactly.
And the extraordinary thing is, after this takes place, there's a kind of celebration.
Oh yes.
It's almost like a rite of passage.
It is a rite of passage. Well, that's what it is often thought of, and that's how the young women are indoctrinated to think about it. That this is how they go into womanhood. But what a horrible womanhood, because it means for many of these women unceasing pain. I mean, if you are in Sudan, where 80% of these procedures are pharaonic, which is the most extreme version, well, it means that you have to be cut open, on your wedding night. Sometimes it takes 8 nights for penetration. Sometimes it takes months because you're so tight, Then to give birth, on an average, a Sudan woman gives birth 6 times. Each time she gives birth, she has to be cut open for the birth of the child. And it's just endless pain. And what I feel so awful about, too, is that often the women don't realize why they're ill, because they've been taught that circumcision, which is really a misnomer, I mean, this mutilation, they've been taught that it cures illness, not that it makes you ill.
Yeah. Why did you do this? This book is dedicated with tenderness and respect to the blameless vulva.
Because it is in the mythology of the Dogon, and I think possibly in the mythology of many people who do this, the vulva is blamed for its natural function. When it is aroused, when the clitoris is aroused, the fact that it is engorged and it stands.
Right.
This is considered masculine. And so whatever is considered masculine in a woman has to be removed. This is the mythology.
Yeah. What is also present here, Alice Walker possessing the secret of joy, is the link that you make, at least in terms of talking about this, between women who do things to their bodies to please anybody,
right.
Any other group of people, any other man, somehow deserve, you were saying, condemnation.
Well, I especially feel really strongly about women reconstructing their breasts to please anyone. I mean, breasts are fine however they are. I mean, if they're small breasts, they're still breasts. If they're large, they're still breasts. I mean, it's,
Somehow you don't have to deface your body to be attractive and loving to another human being.
No, because the body is sacred and the body is beautiful.
Alice Walker is here, and it's a pleasure to have her. Possessing the Secret of Joy, we will talk about her life and about her other work and a lot of other things, and we'll be right back. We are back. You said recently that this is a great time in your life.
Yes.
You're content. Mm-hmm. You're happy. Mm-hmm. Notwithstanding having to deal with really, I opened with the discussion of this, but it is tough to talk about this even.
Yes.
Because you feel the pain of you do, and even to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But in your private and personal and professional life, you're as happy as an adult in her 40s as you were sad as a child.
Yes. Yeah, isn't that great?
What makes you so happy?
Because I'm doing the work I should be doing in the world. And I fulfill my obligations to the people that I feel responsible for.
Yeah. Let me go back then to growing up in Eatonville, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Eatonton, Georgia. Mm-hmm. E-A-T-O-N.
T-O-N.
Why did Alice Walker make it out of that place? A father who was a sharecropper who made $300 a year after,
Not every
in
year,
the end.
every once in a while.
A mother who was alive and today lives in Atlanta, does she?
No,
still lives in Eden.
Yeah.
And who was a maid,
And a sharecropper. See, my parents were equally, they worked equally. They were both sharecroppers, in other words.
Yeah, because they both worked on the farm. She may have done other things, but she still was an equal partner, working in the fields and doing the things to get the crops out. What was the crop?
Cotton, mostly.
Why you? Why were you different? Why did you somehow find your way to Spelman and Sarah Lawrence and bestsellerdom and happiness? Yeah.
Well, I think it's, the real truth is that I think I bonded really early with nature, and it was my salvation. Even more than with church. I used to sit in church and really be leaning out the window in my spirit the whole time. And my mother is a great earth spirit herself, or she was when I was growing up, and she would take me out into the woods and into nature. And she taught me how to grow things. So I always feel very grounded, very connected, and very much an earthling. I don't want to go anywhere else. I don't want to go to the moon. Yeah. I don't even want to go to heaven. I want to be here.
You in fact, prefer the country to the city.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah. And you have no problem with being alone.
No, I love being alone. Because I'm not alone. I mean, you know, I have trees. I mean, I have grass. I have birds. I have snakes. I have everything. You know, I'm never alone, really. I mean, except, you know.
I don't know.
What I really want to be.
But there were people that took an interest in you early on.
Very much.
A school teacher who believed in you.
School teacher who believed in me, who loved me, you know, who gave me lots of hugs and
a reinforced self-esteem.
Well, you know, my self-esteem was always pretty good, you know.
But they reinforced it too, and told you were special and good, but because they noted that you were good. And you always, there was a sense of a poet in you even back then.
Oh yeah, yeah. I like to learn things. I like to recite, and they always beamed when I did so.
What's the earliest book you remember reading?
The earliest book I remember reading, I don't remember. No, but I remember, you know, reading Gulliver's Travels and Heidi and the Brontes when I was a teenager.
Did your mother and your father instill in you, or was it just there, the sense that you could become something, that you could do whatever you wanted to do?
Well, you know, I could see that they were pretty amazing. You know, even with whatever flaws they had, they were really amazing. My mother was just, you know, really a goddess in her own right, you know, because she could just transform wherever we lived into something really wonderful, no matter how shabby it was.
Yeah. Did you make peace with your father?
Yes, I did, but only after he died.
Yeah, why after he died? Why couldn't you do it before he died?
Well, before he died, you know, I wasn't really old enough. I didn't understand enough. And he became really very ill the last years of his life, and really, you know, rather evil. You know, he just, in his sickness, he became very paranoid and closed off. And I tried, but it didn't really work.
How about your brothers?
Well, I think we get along. I don't see them very much because we're all scattered. But I have one brother, Bobby, that I feel really close to because he and I have been really sharing, taking care of my mother for 12 years.
Does it bother you that when people talk about the color purple, and you know where I'm coming from, you know where I'm going, it is that somehow Alice, you know, that Alice Walker in The Color Purple, because of the betrayal of Mr., you know, engendered this notion that she is lashing out at black men.
Yes. Well, you know, I love Mr., and he becomes a really wonderful person. So I would have to think that, you know, most of the people who criticize that particular character have really not read the book.
But it has been a subject that has dogged you. I've never read a profile of you that doesn't raise the subject of how does Alice feel about men.
But you know what? It's really more about my marriage and who I married than it is about what I write.
Because you married a white man, a lawyer?
I married a civil rights lawyer, and who was white, who is still white. And I think that this was really a taboo. I mean, it was a taboo certainly for white people because it was illegal. That's one of the reasons we did it.
Right.
But it was also taboo for black people.
You did it to test interracial.
Well, not entirely. I mean, there was a great deal of love. But, you know, it was illegal at the time. And so we moved to Mississippi, waiting every minute for them to come and drag us to jail.
So you could challenge laws, or because you were simply part of the civil rights movement?
Well, yes, but it was a challenge to the miscegenation law,
right.
You know, which they didn't even take off the books in Mississippi for 20 years after it was outlawed by the Supreme Court in '67.
Yeah. Tell me how you feel today about when you look at race in America today and what progress you think we are making. When you looked at the Rodney King case, and I mean, you now live in California, and when you looked at the response to that decision and where this country is going.
Well, you know, when I heard about it, I don't watch a lot of television, and I was, you know, in the country planting my corn, and I heard about this, and I was numb. I couldn't really deal with it, you know, for a while, because I knew that when I started to deal with it, it would bring back all of those years in Mississippi, where there were many Rodney Kings, and some of them were beaten to death. You know, their bones were cracked into very small pieces, like the civil rights workers who were lynched. So,
Swearing
I
good
just
women.
knew a lot of pain was coming. So I just, kept working on my corn. But then when the rioting started, I understood it. I felt it.
What did you understand?
Oh, I understood the rage and the sense of betrayal, and just the feeling that nothing has really changed. If people can watch something like that and see someone beaten like that and still say essentially that he's guilty, I felt, very close to that kind of feeling. So I knew I had to do something myself. And I think most people felt this way. And what I did was, because I was so far in the woods, there happened to be a demonstration some miles from my house against the logging companies who are now taking out the giant redwoods of California, the most beautiful trees in the world.
Selling them to Japan.
Selling
and
them
other
to
countries.
wherever.
Right.
And there were these two women who had been up on platforms in the top of those trees, because if you get up in the trees, they will have to kill you in order to cut the tree,
Right.
And they had been there for a week. And I just felt if I could get to those women, they were coming down after a week, if I could just get to those women and hug them when they got to the ground, I would feel better. And I would also, put together Rodney King and the redwood trees, which is how you have to do it, I think. So I went. I went with my friend Mary, and when those women put their feet on the ground, we were there to hug them. And it was wonderful, That was what I could do.
And you felt what when you did that?
Well, I felt the circle. I felt the circle of life. One hand felt Rodney King, and the other one, felt the redwood tree.
Talk about for a second, though, how those people, those Americans who look at that and say what happened to Rodney King was awful and that decision we think was wrong, and at the same time say, on the other hand, though, there were a lot of people who were the victims of the riot's violence.
Yes.
And what do we say about them, and what do we say about some sense of order in the country? How do you both respond to the rage and at the same time maintain an equal support of values that are important, which is a protest against violence?
Yes.
And these people that are protesting against the violence against redwoods.
Right. Well, violence is over as a way to deal with anything. I mean, I hated the Gulf War. I hated, I don't like violence. But I do feel that, I do understand the rage that the people had. And so.
Okay. Alice Walker, Possessing the Secret of Joy. We'll be right back and talk a lot more after this break. Stay with us. Alice Walker is here. Possessing the Secret of Joy is a novel. It is a new book. You wanted to make a point that I...
Yes, I lost my thought, but it was this.
Trying to save you.
Okay. Here it is. Here
I saw
it
that
is.
space in your
Right. I
eyes.
mean, it's just, honey, I was in my cornfield.
But your eyes glazed over.
Right. The thing is, I really am not a person who loves the idea of shooting myself in the foot.
Right.
And I think that's what happens often with us, in our anger and our frustration. Right. We hurt ourselves, and we hurt people we don't intend to hurt, and later we're really sorry. I mean, I think this is part of what happened in the rioting and in the rebellion.
Yeah.
But what I would like to recommend is that, if there's a next time, and there probably will be a next time, instead of doing this way, which is, sort of burning out people and hurting people,
right.
We all send out a call to everybody who can move, and we go to where the jurors live, and we stand silently in our hundreds and thousands, all around their houses.
You know why that's a bad idea,
Why?
think? I think that's a bad idea because we ought not be tampering with the jury system. I mean, it's almost like a threat to them, to the jury.
Yes.
Let's assume, I mean, I think I would reach a different conclusion on that jury, and sure I would. I mean,
Yes,
look at that.
I hope so, Charlie.
And I would. But I mean, I wasn't. I just don't, we ought not be condemning juries. I mean, the point is that was an awful decision vis-a-vis Rodney King, but I worry about that. I mean, the jury is a very fragile thing we have in America.
Right.
And a lot of places we don't have that.
I understand what you're saying, Charlie.
And to sort of, it's almost like, whenever I hear about the power of the state.
Yes, but wouldn't it
Juries
have been
protect us
better
from
and
it.
more quiet and peaceful?
Absolutely. Then what happened?
Just to stand. Then what happened? That is what I'm talking
Or maybe
about.
stand outside the courtroom.
Well, they had left the courtroom.
Yeah, but okay.
But in other words, I'm saying we have to really start, dealing with the people who are responsible for the injustice directly.
Yeah, but the people who are responsible for the injustice are not the jurors. I mean, the jurors, whatever decision they made, and they've been condemned roundly and should be, But you can disagree with that judgment strongly and should, based on what we see from this distance. I mean, the people who should be condemned were those people who committed the act against Rodney King.
Exactly, that's true.
That's where it is. I mean,
exactly.
Protest,
okay.
make a protest at the police station.
All right. Okay.
You know, for conduct that, and recognize that there was not just this incident, but a lot of other incidents, and a lot of people stepped forward to say, and especially a lot of black men could step forward and say, let me tell you what happened to me.
But you know, the thing that's not so great about that is how many times we've done that one.
Right.
It's just, you know, it's threadbare. So we have to somehow come up with something that is more real and more, you know, to the point, and short of violence, but you know, but gets the message across.
I worry that, I mean, I think that there was some talk at the time that this was an alarm bell in the night, and this was America waking up, it was a wake-up call for America and all of that. I mean, I hope to see the kinds of things that Los Angeles represented, all sides, have some vigorous discussion in this presidential campaign, so it doesn't become a question of slogans, you know, and values, but it really is a vigorous discussion about these things, so that therefore there is at least something coming out of this from the pain of so many people.
Yeah. And I think the drug situation really has to be addressed as well, because even though I don't watch television very much, one of the things that has disturbed me is that every time I did see it, you would see some person, you know, being dragged by police and treated really brutally because he or she had drugs. Well, where did they come from? I mean, this really does have to be addressed.
Right.
We can't really do very much until we clean that up.
And where is it coming from?
Right, exactly.
Right. Let me talk to a little about some things. The psychoanalyst says, and this is back about violence, which has been a subject of a theme that runs through your books, correct?
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know, violence against women.
Yeah.
A psychoanalyst says, and I quote, "Negro women can never be analyzed effectively because they can't blame their mothers." You think there's something to that idea?
Well, that's what I'm exploring in the book.
I know.
I mean, it is possible because, and you could extend it to, you know, parents in general, as Alice Miller does in her work. Do you know her work?
Yes.
She's really great. We have been brought up to feel that what our parents think and what they say, we have to obey. We have to believe. We have to believe them, no matter how they treat us. You know, honor thy father and their mother, thy mother. So it is very hard, and I think it is doubly hard for black women, because we can see what our mothers are up against. It's the same way with black men and black fathers, you know, black children and black fathers. They see their fathers up against a system that is systematically crushing them. So when the father turns around and you know, crushes them, it's very hard to say, you know, this is wrong, because children are so empathetic with their parents, and black, you know, children are doubly empathetic in this culture, in this society, because we see, you know, what our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents have been up against. It's hard to say then to them, well, you know, just because they beat you, you know, doesn't make it right for you to beat me.
But it is one of the striking things about violence, and those people who come forward to testify about the abuse that they've suffered. And then they, in other words, you show someone who has abused their child, and you'll find out that in so many cases they were abused.
And that's
that lineage that continues through.
And Charlie, that's why psychoanalysis is really good.
Oh, I said to you earlier, you were referring to the fact that I said you had this wonderful quote in which you said, you need a mirror to see the back of your head. And I said to you, I don't understand psychotherapy. I don't understand psychoanalysis, because it just seems to, and you said to me, I've missed a lot.
Yes, you
Now, what
have.
if I missed?
Well, you missed that help that you can get from someone who can show you the back of your head by
What's it done for
holding
you?
the mirror.
Tell me what it's done for you.
Well, you know, it helps me to deal with things that are just kind of knots, you know, in my consciousness, things that might make me anxious. This is more or less, you know, in the past, but things that might make me anxious without my knowing why, things that might you know, feel like a bruise is being struck, but I don't know what the original bruise was. I can't bear to think about it. If you have someone who has really studied the human psyche, and who really cares about, you know, you and who you are and how you're flowering or not, that person can help you, you know, bear whatever it is you have to learn about yourself. In other words, you can have, you know, you have an ally. And this is very important. Children need allies when they're little. I mean, that's, you know, the reason some people don't go on to be abusers. like their parents is because there's often someone else outside the family who says to them, well, you know, you can be a different way. You know, you are different. You don't have to follow this. You can go the other way.
Yeah. One thing I do understand is that the more you know about this stuff and the more you understand yourself and the more you can strip away all those things that have been, you know, projected onto you and take some sense of pride in yourself and who you are in your purest form, then the healthier you are.
Absolutely.
And getting to that point, whoever has sort of projected these things on you, the more you, then the better, the healthier you are, and the more you can go on being a free person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now that brings me to another thing. There was a notion that we talked about pain and women in pain, and the notion that women have to minimize the pain that men give them in order not to hate their sons.
Yes.
Speak to that idea.
Well, this is in this book where the women have to try to think that this doesn't hurt after all. You know, it's like when you have a baby and your mother says to you, well, you'll forget that pain. I never forgot it. It's the same way with this. They say you'll forget the pain, but actually you can't. And you have to think as well that your daughter, who has been sewn up, you know, sutured, the same way that you were, will be broken into, literally, by her husband. And that this will be somebody's son, you know, and your son will be doing this to some woman. So in this culture, I think part of what is happening with women, you know, and the reason they hold on to the custom and they minimize the pain is because if they really think about their son on his wedding night and for, you know, like months following the wedding night, and if they connect what he is doing to somebody's daughter to what was done to them, they cannot help but feel a great deal of hostility. And so because sons are prized much more than daughters, I don't think they dare do this.
Someone has said about you, it was that critical word on Alice Walker is that the older and more impotent a male character gets, the more sympathetic she sketches them.
Well, they should be delighted that I like old men.
But the reason you like old men is the following. You know why you like old men?
Why do I like
Here's
old men?
why.
How old are you,
Dr. Rose
Charlie?
will tell you. Dr. Rose will tell you.
Why?
Because the people when you were growing up that you liked the most
were old people.
Were old people, right?
Well, they were certainly wonderful people.
They were the most important people in your life.
Yeah, they were.
Right? And you've always had that feeling about, right?
Yeah. But I think that's wonderful. I think that's really wonderful.
But do you like men? The critical part of this
do
is
like
that the older
men?
And more, yes, the older and more impotent a male character gets. I'm trying to get at this notion one more time as I double back. This notion of Alice and men.
Alice and men,
right.
Oh dear. Well, just think of it this way. If you live long enough, Alice will love you.
Is that it?
No, no, I don't think so. I mean, of course I love young men.
Yeah. Well, did you hate the criticism that came after Color Purple?
It made me very sad because I have so many nephews.
Yeah, and they said what? They came to you and said, Aunt Alice?
Yeah, Auntie Alice.
Don't you
like me?
Yeah.
And I do.
Yeah.
I do, and I will, and I
have. What about the notion that especially black men in America today have enough of a burden to bear
without adding
Alice
more to it,
jumping on their back?
I don't know why I can't be as much a delight to them as they are to me.
Yeah, and love.
Because I actually think black men are delightful. You know, I mean, not every single one, but in my life, black men have been delightful.
Yeah. Possessing the Secret of Joy, we've got much more. Stay with us. Alice Walker is here, and we'll be right back. Let me just talk about one thing here. This is not to sell this book, but this. I ask you just because I had it here. Did you like this cover? And this is the 10th anniversary edition, and you said...
I bought that art, and I pretty much got them to put it on there because I like it so much.
Oh my God, when you win a Pulitzer Prize, you can do that.
Right.
Now, did this book make you really rich?
How rich is really rich?
I don't know. Millions.
Well, it's sold, I think...
4 million copies around the country?
No, in this country, but about 7 million around the world.
And you got 7 million around the world, and you got $3 for every 7 million. $21 million?
No, don't you dare say that. No, they made that. I didn't make that. No, no way.
7 million copies is sold?
7 million copies around the world.
It did. You can buy a lot of farm up in Northern California.
Well, I bought my 40 acres, you know, which this government was supposed to give me and every other black person, you know, after the Civil War.
Right.
And it never did. So I got
my 40. So you went and did it yourself.
My 40 acres and a rototiller.
Yeah, I wrote not a mule, but 40 acres. You know, Spike Lee's movie company's called 40 Acres and a Mule.
I know. He remembers.
Yeah. What does Malcolm X mean to you?
Oh, someone that I really love still.
Because of his what?
For his courage and his clarity and his humor.
Yeah.
He also scared me, you know. I mean, at the time that he was talking, I mean, you know, I loved him very much, but there I was, in some ways, doing the very thing that he was saying we shouldn't do. I had married this white man, and I was living in Mississippi, and, you know, we were being very interracial because the movement was very interracial. Right. So he often made me feel very incorrect, but I still very deeply admired him.
Yeah. Who are your heroes?
Well, he's one, Fannie Lou Hamer.
Right.
And of course, you know, Martin Luther King, Winnie Mandela, although, you know, lately.
Winnie Mandela?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Notwithstanding
any of
the accusations against
absolutely.
her in South Africa.
Why should I believe the white South African government? Look at those people.
Well, it's not just the white South.
Well,
now,
whoever
in that
it is.
case, it's not just the white South African government.
All right. My point is that if she has done something really horrible, it is because she has been tortured to the point, you know, where it's very likely. I mean, I'm not sure I could have held up as long as she did under the torture that she has been put under. So I still feel very strongly about her. I do.
Yeah, really.
Mm-hmm. I don't change on my friends just because, you know, they are accused of evil things. You know?
If they not regarding her, but what if they did evil things?
Well,
would you change
even if they
them?
did evil things, I would feel that, you know, that they had been turned into evil people for the duration of the act, and I would try to understand it.
Yeah. Is writing?
And that's why Mr. is so wonderful. You know, he is terrible.
You do love Mr.
I love Mr. And you should too. I mean, I don't understand people who don't love Mr.
I didn't say I didn't love Mick, but I'm saying to you that a lot of other people, that I have never read a profile of you that they don't talk about Alice and how she feels about men and all the controversy that created.
Well, you know, I think some of those men who are fussing about me would
These
really...
not fussing, these are women too.
Well, all right, well, let's stay on the men.
All right.
Because I think what they would like, a lot of them, is just a big hug.
Well, we all need a big hug.
Well, I mean, I know
it goes way back to...
They'll hate me for saying this, but I really think that's true.
What, do we need a big hug?
Well, I mean, I think...
That we can't take it?
I think that, in other words, they don't know how to be in a relationship to me.
Right.
Except by attacking.
Yeah.
But what they should know is that they don't have to do that, you know, to talk to me. I will talk.
You actually said you went out to San Francisco. I'm not hung up on this, I promise, because you know. You went out to San Francisco to live because the men out there were more mellow. Did you remember saying something like that?
Oh, yeah, the men are very mellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what, you want mellow men?
Well, yes. I mean, the macho image.
See, they were right.
Okay, no. Here's the thing: it is true. The kind of man that I really prefer is someone who does not have a gun.
You bet.
There.
You know,
I've said it.
And so there you've said it.
You know, and you know, I'm just not attracted to the macho, you know, behavior. I'm not. I mean, if you're loud and you're swaggering and you're shooting at people and you're, you know, drinking and you're carrying on, forget it. You know, I want somebody who you know, can talk and who can cuddle and who can dance and who can cook and who can, you know, have a great time at a party. I mean. Yeah.
So and who can share? What you're really saying is that your problem is somehow with people who inflict violence on other people, and especially if it's women because of what they have suffered, right?
Yes.
Okay, there we've settled that. Now let me talk about writing a little bit. It's what for you?
Oh, it's a state of grace. It is just a feeling of wonder and beauty because, I mean, you create a world. You can create a world. You know, this world that we live in was created out of silence. And so is writing. So is that novel. It's created out of silence. All of those voices, they come out of nothing.
And they rummage around in your head.
Yeah.
Those voices do.
Or stroll sedately.
And in a sense, you work out the whole thing before you commit it to paper.
Pretty much.
And then you write it in longhand?
Longhand.
Yeah. And then you put it on a word processor.
Longhand in bed, mostly.
In bed?
Yes.
You're propped up in bed, writing away.
Right. Yeah. It's wonderful. Birds are chirping, the rustle of the breeze. I mean, it's
And do you edit as you write?
Well, I don't do a lot of editing because I do that before I write it.
You really have worked it all out.
Pretty much, yeah.
But what about reconstructing the sentences and going through? I mean,
Well, I don't do a lot of that, Charlie. I do that before I write it. You know, if I had
You really hear the poetry in your head, and when it goes from there to here, it has already sorted itself out in terms of its rhythm and in terms of its inflection and in terms of its voice.
Oh, yeah. And I live with the people. I live with the voices, and we are so intimate, and we just know. I mean, I know everybody so well by the time I write them.
And any character that I read of yours is part you.
Oh yeah, every table, every chair, every lampshade is part me.
Yeah. And how do you feel when you finish a book?
Oh, well, it depends on the book.
And how about this one?
Well, I knew the work that I was, letting myself in for, because this book is really just the beginning of what I think will be a very long haul in trying to get people to listen to this issue, to care about it.
Yeah, because it's a taboo.
Yes.
A taboo subject.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also...
And what about people who say it doesn't relate to me, Alice? I mean, sure, it's a problem in another society, but I'm not about. Let me finish. I'm not about going around trying to change the cultural traditions of other societies.
Right.
That's what they say.
Those people have never heard of the rainforest, and those people have never cared that if you cut down all the forest, somewhere else, soon we won't be able to breathe. It's all totally connected. There is no way of. I mean, if we talk about how disease spreads because of this, there's really no way to keep a disease in Africa or anywhere. I mean, because it travels. I mean, that's just on the most elementary level.
Yeah. How do you see yourself today? Give me your self-image when you look in the mirror.
I see a farmer and a gardener and someone who really loves the earth.
The kind of... I mean, when I see you, there's a smile. I mean, I see your whole face smiling. Yet there are people, some say you write out of depression.
I did for a while.
Yeah.
But I'm not depressed anymore.
Yeah. You're optimistic?
Psychotherapy, Charlie.
Will that do it?
But actually, with me, it was really poetry.
I believe it was poetry. See, I
right.
knew it. You worked yourself out of it. These people,
I know.
worked yourself out of it.
They were Johnny Come-Latelys.
No, that's right. You would have gotten there anyway, but they just nudged you along.
I know.
There was just somebody to listen to you,
I know,
correct?
but yeah, I know.
And just to sort of nudge you along.
Right.
Yeah. Does it make writing easier that you know where the demons are? Well,
it makes life just, it's almost as if you just get rid of the veil, between you and the goodness of life. So that every moment, now is like the goodness of life is just so apparent.
Right.
Yeah.
I have no business in asking this, and I don't mean it because I am one of them. How do you feel about white men?
Well, I like you all right, Charlie.
I know you do, but I know you do.
But that's because you behave.
Well, I wouldn't dare. But you know what I mean. I mean, could you have a relationship?
Charlie, that is such a silly question.
Yeah.
I was married to this
white
man for 10 years.
I know you were. But you've also written a lot about...
About what?
Well, about about anger and about...
Well, let's face it. White men are responsible for so much of the really awful stuff of the world, But there again, many of them are wonderful and are a delight to have on earth. You have to read The Temple of My Familiar.
I have not read The Temple of My Familiar.
Because I struggled. I had to struggle to figure out whether, there was a place for the white man.
I know. Right.
And I decided that there is a place.
Yeah, but that's exactly what Malcolm X decided, too.
Well, where was it? What did he say?
Well, he just came back from Mecca having decided that, we didn't have to hate each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm really getting at, I think.
Well, I actually don't have a lot of hate,
No, I'm not making that kind of...
I have to deal with reality.
Right.
But I also take such delight in what is really blooming and blossoming and free, And so if your spirit, whoever you are, if your spirit is free, then that's what is beautiful.
Living in the country and connected to nature helped that?
Yes. I was born in the country connected to nature, so I'm really back where I started.
Yeah. And what do you hope what have you given your daughter most of all, and what has she given you? Because the book ends, in which you say,
I thank my daughter Rebecca.
Yeah, you know what it says, don't you? I thank You say, I thank Robert Allen for his friendship. I thank Jean Weisinger for her being, and I thank my daughter Rebecca for giving me the opportunity to be a mother.
Yes. Well, because I fought motherhood for such a long time, I mean, I just didn't know if I could handle it and also write or also be. But Rebecca turned out to be my connection to people in the same way, that a tree is my connection to non-people.
Right. What's the next book?
I don't know, but the next thing is a documentary about female genital mutilation.
Yeah. You may start a lot of focus on that. But you don't know what the next book is.
No, I never know.
But
And I wouldn't tell you if I knew.
You would?
No,
you
I
wouldn't.
wouldn't.
Why not?
Because I don't talk about things until I've done them.
Wonderful. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you. Alice Walker, we thank you for joining us tonight. Be with us again next week for more engaging conversation about the world we live in and the people who make the news. See you then.